The Premier League is back.
They wanted to be around the ball, to respect the ball.
Ah yes, 'tis the season for all of us to be angry every weekend at either the referees or our own clubs. It all started with Arsenal versus Coventry. Let's start with before the match. It was very interesting that Martinelli is being frozen out. He seems Arsenal through and through. Always talks so much about his love and loyalty to the club. It's very surprising that Arsenal are just completely freezing him out. Even Ian Wright after the match said he's surprised at how Martinelli is being treated. Can Arsenal upgrade on Martinelli? Yes, of course, but maybe they should be going about it in a different way, given the respect and effort he's given back to them. But anyway, speaking of the left wing, Solis is looking so good. At the start of the match, he was great. He's looking very similar to the man he's replacing, Trossard. They're both kind of these dribbly wing players that like to cut more into the middle of the pitch than stay out wide, but he has very big shoes to fill. Trossard had a lot of experience in the Premier League. It's a lot to ask of Solis to do that at 24 and coming from the Belgian league. So I'm going to be cautiously optimistic about him, but man, he's looking good. Every single decision he makes is correct. And Arteta is already giving him license to go anywhere. I saw him popping up on the right wing a few times, creating triangles with Saka and White. I even saw him in the middle a couple times. His connection with Calafiori is looking great, the two connecting back and forth, and he often laid off the ball to him. How did Arsenal get him for only £35 million? I swear even Win the Dog could fetch 50 million in this market. For the first goal, it started when Ben White did a huge diagonal across the pitch. And speaking of Ben White, Arsenal fans must also be very happy that they finally get to watch a healthy Ben White, a healthy Odegaard, and a healthy Saka all connecting with one another. I feel like I haven't seen that since 2024. They have great chemistry together and finally feels like Odegaard is playing like himself again. He's taking the ball with more confidence, playing fun passes when he wants and can, and overall the midfield just played with a lot more confidence. Miles Lewis-Skelly doing what he always does when he takes the ball on the half turn and pushes through, but from there he was still passing through the middle, as was Odegaard. I didn't see this from Arsenal at all last year. It's like they were allergic to playing through the middle. So these are all very encouraging signs for the Gunners. In the second half, Saka sealed the deal with the third goal, which came from Solis' perfect passing decision again. Yes, it was deflected right into Saka's path, but still. And that's it for the night. 3 goals and 3 open play goals, might I add. Jamie Carragher started the day off by bemoaning all of Arsenal's signings this summer, saying, well, pretty much still going to struggle to score from open play because they haven't signed a star attacker. Well, he got to sit back and watch Arsenal score 3 times from open play. I do think Arsenal still need a star, a bona fide star. The Vinny Jr. signing would have been so perfect. We'll see if they can still get a star attacker before the transfer window ends, but that was without a doubt a great start to the season. From one newly promoted team to another, Hull City versus Manchester United. It seems like United shifted their transfer strategy this summer. They're staying away from the top end of the market. The likes of Mateus Fernandes, Tonali, Elliot Anderson, even Guimaraes to Arsenal, they seemingly chose to not pursue any of those deals. And honestly, I think that's a good thing. I know some people can see it as, oh, how the mighty have fallen, but I think they needed this. After years of overspending, and with almost all those transfers never really hitting to the heights their fees insinuated they should, I think resetting was needed and necessary. I think it also cements and acknowledges that United are in the middle of a process at the moment. Instead of acting as if you were a contender in the market every single transfer window, it's better to just take some steps to get there first, in my opinion, especially after United's repeated failures for the last 10 years. There's also a decent balance. Santos is young and has a lot of potential, meanwhile Tielemans is already ready-made and will surely help United fight for Champions League spots right now. Anything beyond Champions League though, I think people are absolutely crazy to suggest United are title contenders this year. Their backline definitely needs some refreshing. I don't think they have enough depth in any area of the pitch, and now they're going up to 3 games a week with the reintroduction of European football this year. And I think that's going to have a huge toll on them unless their medical team are a bunch of miracle workers. Now onto the match. I think everything started and ended with their left wing player. Honestly, what is Dorgu doing at left wing? He's much more a left wing back for me. Maybe Šeško is still building up fitness, so Cunha couldn't start on the left and Šeško can go up front to start the match. And then the same thing goes for Rashford. But Dorgu didn't impact the attacking play this match at all. And I know it seems like I'm picking on him, but this is more on the manager for putting him there than Dorgu himself, who in my opinion is playing out of position. Here you can see Dorgu making a run in the striker position, which obviously won't be effective. I'm wondering what Carrick is thinking here. Here he is the furthest man forward again. And then on this play, he misses a perfect cross from Maguire. With him as your leading man on many plays, it's very unlikely that you're going to score, and you could see by United's aversion from playing through the left-hand side this match that they knew they weren't going to create much from that side either. So it just kills your attack, because his ineffectiveness to create also affects the striker and the right wing player getting any tap-ins from any misses in the center of the pitch, like we saw with Saka the day before. It has a compounding effect that I think really affected United in the first half. And then there was a lot of sloppiness, like Bruno Fernandes said that they always often fall victim to in away matches. They gave the ball away in the middle of the pitch, and then Hull took advantage of it from the following corner. Surprisingly enough, because everybody, I think even including myself, had them going straight back down this year, but they looked quite impressive this match. They moved the ball quickly and were able to take advantage of those mistakes. The goal came from the corner because Heaven wasn't watching the back post well enough, and then in the middle, in front of the keeper, they were all just standing and ball watching. They were just completely frozen still. And then the second goal came from another set piece. This was just a great delivery. It's hard to pinpoint any critiques on anybody here really. And then the only two things to really talk about in the second half is one, Rashford being back. Nice, I love him. I hope he can kick on and make peace with his hometown club. And lastly, Maguire. Maguire is such a funny player, man. I love him too. I saw him cutting in like he was a wing player and taking shots. He spent more time next to his striker than his center back in the second half. I used to think Ten Hag was crazy when I saw him having Maguire have these moments where he'd pop up next to the striker, but I was wrong. I get it. He's England's top scoring center back of all time for good reason. I think he has an eye for a finish, but clearly it didn't work out in this match. Look, there's not too much I'd take from this from a United perspective. When Cunha can focus playing more on the left and Rashford builds up his fitness, your entire left-hand side of attack won't get nuked. Baleba coming in will add some much needed coverage in midfield, and you should still have enough to fight for European spots this season. Look, before we all dunk on Spurs again,
that is one big pile of shit.
I think a lot of context is needed for this match. I think they easily had 4 starters not even on the bench. Their new midfield pairing couldn't start either. And Brentford will be one of the toughest away grounds to go to, at least for the start of the season. They're a well-oiled machine right now, and we saw that in this match. As they were cutting Spurs open and looking very, very sharp with their quick 1-2 passes. They're finding gaps on the right-hand side. They're moving the ball very quickly. We saw exactly that on the first goal. Something maybe a little bit more concerning is Van Hecke had a very, very bad debut. He was misplacing passes. He gave up a foul on the edge of the box. He was misplacing clearances from corners. He was a bit all over the place, but even with that concern, it can be tempered a bit because I think he'd be spending a lot more time playing next to Mickey van de Ven when he's fit. Now, I think the biggest saving grace for Spurs fans that this isn't just a preview of how the season is going to play out is because of players like Bergvall. He is without a doubt not going to be your starter as more new signings get integrated and everybody becomes healthy. Majority of my notes from the first half were how poor he was playing, and De Zerbi clearly agreed because he took him off at halftime. He was very ineffective. On the second goal, he was simply walked through. Yes, Kinski palms the ball right back to Janelt, but still the poor play in midfield is what initially caused this sequence to happen. And then after the halftime changes were made, a set piece goal came quickly, which pretty much killed the game from there. So we can't really discern anything tactically from the new midfield pairing getting some minutes together because of the game state and because so many other attackers were still missing from the fold. Mickey Moore missed 2 very clean-cut chances in the second half as well, but I also don't see that being a persistent issue. With Savinho joining and Kudus coming back, there will be less reliance on Mickey Moore. Richarlison couldn't stay on his feet like usual and didn't really influence build-up at all, but with Marmoush likely joining too, there shouldn't be too much worries in that area of the pitch either. So let's see, there's still so many pieces missing, and Brentford are so good at home at the moment that I think it's just way too soon to draw any conclusions on Spurs right now. I think they need to set and forget this game ever happened and just focus on putting in the work at the training ground, because with no European football, they should make major strides in the league table this season. Moving on to City versus Bournemouth. A lot of change over the summer for both teams. The biggest change of all being Pep Guardiola after 10 years left Manchester City. A legend of the league has definitely left, making it just a bit less entertaining without a doubt.
You don't like to touch balls? So I love it. So yeah, come.
But I honestly like his replacement. Out of all the recent managers Chelsea have had, I think Enzo Maresca got the best performances out of that chaotic squad. I think he deserves a lot of credit for that. And with City seeing so much turnover, I think his Chelsea experience will help him kind of make sense out of all of that. But honestly, at the end of the day, there is no replacing arguably the best manager ever. He just has to get good enough performances from this very talented squad. And if he does, they will be challenging for the title. As for Bournemouth, they come into this match on a 17-match unbeaten run, dating back to last year. What an incredible run Iraola went on with a club the size of Bournemouth's. They even ended City's title chances last year. I think he's going to be a gigantic miss for this team. We'll see what Marco Rose can manage, but he does have big shoes to fill. Alright, now moving on to the match. I think the most interesting thing was who Enzo Maresca selected and where he placed them. Nico O'Reilly was put in as the 10. Pep Guardiola has gone on record in the past saying that that's his best position, but pretty much never used him there, predominantly placing him at left back. So it's fun to see his progression into the season if he can really hang on to that midfield spot. Foden was on the right hand side. He's definitely not a touchline winger, and you can see from his heat map he was kind of asked to really play as one, and he was very ineffective when he was asked to do that. But the moments where he did cut into the middle and when he had the ball at the edge of the box, we did see flashes of past Phil Foden, where he was quick with his feet, making creative passes, but he was a lot more effective in the second half when he could stay more centrally, due to Nunes coming on to hold the width. But maybe the most interesting selection was Guehi in the middle, as a holding midfielder. Yes, he was playing in a 2 with Anderson, but there were times where he was really pushing up. You could see he wasn't too assured in the box though during attacking play. He missed a wide open look in the second half, but overall a very interesting selection by Maresca. I wonder if this is something he'll stick with. I doubt it, but still interesting nonetheless. O'Reilly was still instructed to be more on the left hand side of the pitch, and him and Semenyo were absolutely grilling Cook and Smith. City were definitely going forward with much more intent at the start of the match, but it was Bournemouth who stole the first goal, and it was mostly due to poor play from Diaz and Kuzanov, who just really didn't have any awareness who was behind them, which created the separation to get the ball into the box. And this happened a couple times actually. Rico Lewis was caught in a very similar situation where he just wasn't really aware what was around him, but he got away with it, and I think City created enough in the first half to actually be ahead themselves. They just weren't taking their chances. In the second half, it was all City again, constant pressure, but just not really taking their chances. First that Guehi miss I referenced earlier, but then everything changed when Turkey came on. Guehi for a second time was completely unmarked in the box during a corner, but this time he actually scores, and it was Turkey who assisted him. And then on the second goal, Turkey's feet are just so quick. He has literally 5 people around him and he got the ball through all of them, and Gvardiol out of everybody was on the front line to score. It's curious how Turkey didn't start for France in the World Cup, and even in this match he didn't either. I'm wondering what the managers want more from him. Maybe just better understanding positioning during defensive phases. I don't know, but he is definitely without a doubt a game changer in attack in terms of having those special moments in his back pocket. In the end, I think City got what they deserve and they won this match. Overall, I think they looked a lot better than in the Community Shield versus Arsenal, and Enzo Maresca is again showing good tactical understanding of his players, like he did at Chelsea. Last but definitely not least, Newcastle versus Liverpool, which is always a very entertaining fixture. Liverpool, I swear like most teams, have a new manager this season. Iraola did a fantastic job at Bournemouth. He was definitely punching above the club's weight, and out of every manager, I think I'm the most curious how he kicks on at a bigger club. Honestly, I think it could go either way. We saw managers like Graham Potter who looked very good at very competent smaller clubs, but then struggle when they go to a bigger club. I do think going to Chelsea and going to Liverpool are two very different jobs, to be fair, and I also think he brings that punchy, fast-paced football that Liverpool fans love, which is going in favor of him succeeding, and also he can have the most like a new signings ever. With Isak and Wirtz, £200 million talents, if he can strike a chord with both of them, with that alone, Liverpool can look completely different than last year. Newcastle started an entirely new cycle as well. It's almost like Newcastle recruited too well. They recruited too many players with top trophy ambitions, and when Newcastle stagnated last summer, I think they were all quick to notice and jumped ship this past summer. But I don't think we should just write off Newcastle. The pressure is almost kind of off this season. With so much change and losing so much talent, I don't think anyone's really expecting them to push on to European spots this summer, so they can just focus on growing the next batch of talent that they were so successful in doing the first time. At the start of the game, Isak got destroyed by the Newcastle fans. And to be fair to them, for very good reason. The whole downfall of Newcastle started when he forced the move out of the club. But look, here's how I know Isak is a smart man. You see those noise-canceling AirPods? He's not doing the wired headphone thing that all the professional footballers love to do. My man brought out the noise-canceling AirPod Pros. He's a smart man. My man could hear nothing in this moment. But then inside the stadium was a very touching tribute to Kevin Keegan. Fans were shown with tears in their eyes. Everybody stopped to applaud. This is what football is all about. The togetherness shown by all Newcastle fans, all Liverpool fans in this moment was beautiful. And to me, at the core of football, this is what I love. Seeing people celebrate someone's life and come together, and seeing the real emotion in everybody's eyes. Both clubs played a 4-2-3-1, but Wirtz played more like a 10, floating around and trying to link up play, whereas Wissa played more like a second striker, contributing more with his hold-up play and really driving the ball at Liverpool. And overall, I think Wissa actually put in a good performance in a Newcastle shirt finally. And speaking of a new signing, Alanga. There's a huge gap in the middle of the pitch, with the two holding midfielders, Gravenberch and Szoboszlai, pushing too far up. Maybe something to watch out for under Iraola. But because of this, Osula had time and space to release the ball to Alanga and watch him fly. It only took over 12 months for Alanga to show his signature pace and goal. On that first goal, this is exactly why he was signed. But with 0 league goals last year, Newcastle fans had to wait literally over a year to see it. I think his passing was still quite poor all match. His decision making in the final third was quite rushed. He only completed 71% of his passes and created 0 chances. With the positions he found himself in the match, I think he could have created some bigger chances. But nevertheless, it was really great to see a vintage Alanga goal. And then from there, it was just dump and chase the ball to Alanga. It was very obvious that was Newcastle's tactic. They were trying to set up Alanga to go one-on-one with Kirkez as much as they possibly could. Kirkez lost 6 out of 10 duels in the match, so I can see why Newcastle were so adamant to target this side of the pitch. Not only that, but I think Barnes was looking quite rusty on the other side. Jumping ahead to the second half for Liverpool's equalizer, Gakpo randomly popped up on the right-hand side completely unmarked and scored. Even looking at his heat map, he effectively spent no time on that side of the pitch, besides this goal. So it makes me wonder if it was intentional. I wouldn't be surprised if Iraola saw that gap and instructed him to go over to that side of the pitch. But this also really falls on Miley for pushing up to cover Szoboszlai and Gravenberch. He should have stayed back and better communicated with Wissa to allow him to do that, because that's what created the gap in the first place. Newcastle should have seen this through and should have won. If it wasn't for a last-second penalty, it was kind of soft, but there was contact, so I get it. Szoboszlai, of course, roofs it into the top of the net. He has insane ball striking. Yes, it was in the very last second, but overall, I think Liverpool did enough to at least get a draw in this game. Wirtz and Isak definitely weren't convincing at all still, which is a bit of a concern. And they were left exposed often in behind by committing even their two holding midfielders quite far up a few times, as we saw in that first goal. But with an insanely high 27 total shots and 36 touches in the opposition box, they did a good job keeping pressure on that side of the pitch. And that's it for this week. If you guys like this video, please like and subscribe. I'd really appreciate it, as I'm considering doing more of these this year.